Yeah, well, look, first off, Abby, I appreciate you coming on for this conversation. I do think it's an important call to have. Want to smooth over some issues I think that there have been between you, Isaac, and Mr. Rams, because I think all three of you are good assets to the movement, and I think it was a deep shame that there was such a bitter kind of confrontation there.
Just to be clear, I don't have any issue. I don't really have much issue with him. I don't have like from my end. I mean, there's nothing personal with him. I just
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I can talk about him, but I want to address the comment that you made on
Yes.
first.
Yeah,
I don't
let's
have
start
much
with that.
wrong with Rant. Like, just a real quick, I don't really have much wrong with him. It's just that I heard him talking about my view, and I wanted to talk to him because he talked about my view. That's all.
Okay, yeah, we can go into that later about why I think that was done in a particularly toxic way, and we can just address that. But first of all, yeah, I obviously just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about, to give you a chance to respond to my comment on YouTube. So I just left a comment recently on YouTube. You were having a conversation with Shadow Starshine,
Mm-hmm.
and I commented something along the lines of why there seems to be a distinction in your behavior towards carnists and vegans, basing it off the interaction you had with David Rams, which I thought was done in a very unethical and toxic way, which I saw as you kind of trying to aggressively pressure David Rams into a conversation. And then Isaac comes in and starts saying, why are we talking about fucking meta and calling David a coward and a sophist and scum and all this stuff. And then I see you talking to Shadow Starshine recently, who's a guy who has very unethical views towards animals. I saw his debate with Vegan Gains a few years back, and yeah, he has pretty backwards and regressive views when it comes to animals in the animal holocaust. And I thought, why is Avi like having a pleasant little chinwag with this guy and talking about meta? And then, the last time I saw him in a conversation with David Rams, he's kind of just like trying to aggressively
Yeah.
pressurize
So
him
so
into. Yeah.
just real quick, have you actually watched that whole video?
Yeah.
Okay, because I reject both of those things. First of all, I reject that it was meta.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually just the topic of the conversation we agreed to have. And I reject that it was a pleasant little chit chat. I mean, the chat ended with me literally banning him from my server. And I was pressuring him. I mean, it started off in good faith, but then it continued with me ended up mocking him, aka, things like, oh, law of identity. It's a little philosophy server where they think law of identity works, like as a critique name the trait. That was a mock. And then I've banned him. It ended with me banning him from the server. So I'm not really sure what you mean. I would never characterize that conversation as a pleasant little chit chat.
All right, yeah, fair enough. That's fine. Is there anything else that you wanted to say on that? I mean, yeah, I'm happy to say I was mistaken there if that wasn't indeed the case.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, the other thing is, it wasn't meta. I take meta to be a conversation about the conversation. It's so, if I agreed to discuss a topic with him, like certain the topic were the things covered in his comment, A, B, and C, and I discussed A, B, and C. Now, if I were to divert from A, B, and C, and I were to say, well, let's talk about the way we're having the conversation about A, or let's talk about that way we're having a conversation about B, you and me, Shadow, that would be meta. But I don't want you to think that like any discussion about name the trait is a meta discussion about it's meta with it's that I don't want you to have the impression that unless you're running name the trait on someone, anything talking about name the trait is like a meta conversation. Like no.
I see. What was the conversation actually about? Maybe I just kind of misunderstood what it was about.
Well, it was about the comment he left on a video, and he said certain things, and I wanted to discuss those things that were said. And
fair enough. I do watch your content a lot, and I'd be interested to actually see you debate him and press him on NTT. So,
right, so that and that's fine, but I want you to understand that the fact that you wanted to see that happen and instead it didn't happen, and what you saw was a conversation about name the trait, doesn't make that meta.
Cool. Yeah. No, totally understood. Yeah, agreed. That's fine.
Like if we agreed, like if we agreed to um have a run at NTT, like, oh, I run NTT on you, and then we just discuss conversations about NTT, or about how we're having the conversation about running NTT, then it would be meta. But that wasn't the topic of the conversation. That wasn't the discussion we agreed to have. So it was not meta. It was just having the conversation.
Fair enough. Yeah. You know what it was? I was listening on my earphones at work on my night shift the other night, and I think I was just kind of patiently waiting for you to deploy NCT on him or something. And then I was like, where the fuck is NCT? They're just talking about NCT.
Yeah.
So I
And the
think
reason is because that's what we agreed to talk about.
Yeah.
It's if I were to run, in fact, if I were to just run NTT on him, that would be deviating from the topic of the conversation.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say on that before?
Yeah, and I also don't think like meta is necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it is necessary in certain contexts to have the actual conversation. If
Mhm.
there are certain things that are just getting in the way of having the conversation in certain things, sometimes it might be appropriate to talk about meta.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fine.
And then wait, let me I'll see it. Okay, so hold on. Let me just see if there's anything else in your comment. Okay, so the other thing I want to, and this is something that really, I think people really don't have much of a grasp on, or it's a very weird thing. Is something I want you to introduce you to the concept of straw rolling. It's straw rolling is a term, because we need a term for this thing, where someone is essentially straw manning the role that is expected to be played. So, for example, have you heard, by the way, have you heard of like the recent thing with Destiny where he got sort of semi canceled?
I don't think I have.
All right, so he got in trouble by, he was recording some chicks without their consent or whatever, or he was like sharing content of like sexual content without their consent. So he got into trouble for that. I don't know if you heard anything about that, but
No.
yeah. And so then, I don't know if you know Pisco. Would Pisco like distance himself from Destiny? And then, I voted for Trump. So everyone in Destiny's circle will be like, how could Pisco distance himself from Destiny, but not Avi? Because voting for Trump is way worse, right?
Than what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have TDS, so yeah, I stand with you on that.
Right. So, well, the point, okay, even if you were not, even if you did have TDS, the point being is that the one thing that really irritates me about that is that the role of playing someone's conversationalist or friend or whatever, people have this view about that. What that's about is like this. It's about how good of a person you are or something. It's like, well, Destiny did something really bad, but Avi did something worse. So how can you be friends with him? And that's just looking at roles the wrong way. There's some friendship is a role, and I mean, how good of a person you are might play into that, but there are certain, from my perspective, there are certain carnists that may make better friends with me than certain vegans, even though they're worse people. So for example, if there is a vegan who would just backstab me at any turn, or there was a carnist that would, I view as a horrible person, but they would be loyal to me and they would be honest with me, whereas the vegan would always lie to me and be dishonest to me, but not murder animals. I may still view the carnist as a worse person, but I would still say they're a better friend.
Yeah, I relate to that because I have a problem with a lot of vegans, particularly in the intersectional crowd. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I understand your point.
Yeah. And so the thing is, like, you might, so even if I was, you might see me, how could you have, even if I was having a friendly conversation, like, even if that conversation didn't end with me banning Shadow Starshine for my server. Um, this idea that, well, how could you treat a vegan in the way you treated him, you know, and have a friendly chit chat with a non-vegan who has much more horrible views? Well, yeah, I can, because they're having, this is the role of a conversationalist, and there are certain things about the role of a conversationalist that matter more than how good of a person you are. Namely, being able to answer my questions and willing to answer my questions and willing to have the topic of the conversation. Like, those are some bare minimum things that just make you a better conversationalist. And I'm going to have an easier time having a conversation with you if you have those basic characteristics than if you don't. And it doesn't matter if you're how good of a person you are, or how bad of a person you are, or how you could run 20 animal sanctuaries for all I care. But if you're not willing to, you know, if you're gonna go publicly and start talking about my views, and then when I try to confront you on them, you're gonna not talk to me about them, I'm gonna get very frustrated. I'm gonna say from a conversationalist perspective, you're a shit conversationalist, and from an intellectually honest perspective, you're being a shit intellectually honest person. You might be a great person otherwise. You might be great for the animals otherwise, but for these sorts of roles, I don't want you in my life in terms of those roles. I wouldn't want you in a conversationalist, because that's just a role that will frustrate me. I don't want, look, it's not, and it's nothing personal. It's not like, for example, like if you could do the same thing, like with a carnist, attractive woman who, you know, has horrible views towards animals, and a, you know, the best, most moral philanthropist, vegan, animal saving guy who, you know, who is just completely unattractive to me because I'm a straight dude. You know, if the role is, you know, you guys have to have sex with each other. Well, again, it's not a, well, how could you have sex with the girl who's a carnist and other, like, no, that's not what it's about. It's not about whether they're so good to the animals or whether, like, no, it's a role. And there are more relevant characteristics of that role than whether you're a vegan or a carnist.
Yeah, the thing is, I just see what Rams allegedly did, quote unquote, as not something that's deserving of that kind of treatment. But maybe we can get into that if you're willing.
Okay, but
to
wait, but before we do you understand and agree with what I'm saying? Like, in terms of, like,
I
in
understand.
terms of the role thing, like, there's a whole bunch of straw rolling that goes on that people, like, have this expectation that certain roles, like, there's this complete misunderstanding of what characteristics should qualify as in favor of a given role or against a given role, and it's a completely misunderstood idea.
Yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent. It's just what I'm disagreeing with you.
You might
is
still
what
think
those
the interaction with
characteristics
Rams
are.
was toxic and unfounded. I'm not. You agreeing to this doesn't mean you concede on
Sure.
that. But I'm
Okay.
just saying that, what, like, someone having a pleasant conversation with you, someone having an interesting conversation with me, the most relevant things in terms of characteristics is not whether they're vegan or carnist. It's not whether they have evil or good views. The most relevant characteristics is whether they are a good conversationalist, meaning, are they engaging with, are they directly answer questions? Are they willing to have a voice conversation? Are they engaging with the point? Are they tracking the point? Like, those things are going to be much more relevant than how good or evil of a person they are.
Yeah, but I don't think that those. I think those are kind of arbitrary characteristics, to be honest. How willing someone is to entertain a conversation or to answer a question, like,
That's, well, then it's not, well, wait, that is what for me will make someone a good conversationalist. Yes, the conversation is going to be more engaging and interesting and meaningful for me if someone's actually going, like, again, this is with respect to the role of a conversationalist.
yeah, but it doesn't
Not with
change your
respect to the
perception of
role
them
of,
as a person. Can I just
no,
clarify?
no, I'm not. It's not with respect to the role of them as my view of
Yeah.
them as a
Okay.
person. So I want to be clear. Okay, so no, we need to stick on this because I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying or appreciating what I'm saying fully. What I'm saying fully is, for the role, there are certain roles where I'm going to view someone as being more appropriate for that role or less appropriate for that role, and I'm going to place very little value on whether they're a vegan or carnist or whether they're a good or bad person. So again, if the role is for them to be a conversationalist with me, right?
Yep.
There are going to be much more relevant roles than whether they are a good or bad person. If they're going to be a conversationalist with me, there are very relevant characteristics that I don't know what you mean by arbitrary, but like this is like the to me this is like the basic relevancy points of being able to have the conversation. A, being willing to have the conversation. That's a characteristic. B, understanding what a conversation is. See, like engaging with the conversation, being able to listen, being able to answer, being willing to listen or answer, being able to track what's being said, tracking what's being said. Those things are going to be much more relevant for the role of a conversationalist than how many animals you save or how many animals you kill.
Yeah, I guess in this case though, Rams wasn't willing to. He wasn't there to have a conversation with
Right,
you, which
right.
is part of the point.
That is true. Yes, that is true. He wasn't. He didn't want to have a conversation. He didn't want to be the conversationalist in that role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree with that. Before we get to that, because you're jumping to that. Before we get to that, do you agree with me that with respect to certain roles, there's going to be different relevant characteristics?
Yep. For example, yeah, I might have a bad, a fallout with a vegan, but then I might be in hospital and there might be a non-vegan doctor who I have a nice chat with about something. Sure.
Yes. Okay. Good. Now,
Cool.
okay. So this whole thing
Maybe
about
it's Dr. Avi. I'm joking.
well, yeah. Well, this look. So this whole thing, but the whole thing there about you were having this friendly. There are many relevant reasons I could have a friendly conversation with a non-vegan, but I don't know, 5-6 years ago, I had a very heated conversation with David Rams. Again, and there's no expectation that shouldn't happen because, the one person is a vegan, the other person's not. I think that's just kind of silly.
Was it really that long ago? I think it was about 2021, maybe.
I don't know how well that would be 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
I don't know when the conversation happened. It's been a hot minute.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not been on my mind for years. So,
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, so the point is that I don't. This whole idea, it's like, oh, don't. So I find it strange that here you have Shadow. This is your words. I find it strange that here you have Shadow, an apathetic harness with discriminatory and immoral views on animals. Rather than take the opportunity to deploy an NDT on him, pretend the veganism, you entertain a very long and frankly very boring conversation about meta and show him some kind of aspect. Now, we went over all the points about why that's not meta and why I didn't do that, but the additional layer of confusion about that comment is that no, I could very well have a very interesting conversation and chit-chat conversation with him because in the role that he's playing, he might have very more relevant characteristics to play that role than someone who's vegan. Namely, his willingness to actually engage in the conversation and answer the questions.
Yeah, cool. And look, I just want to say there's no right or wrong answer to this. I just wanted to, I just wanted to hear your take on this. So that's absolutely fine.
But I think, okay, but wait. But do you disagree with anything I just said? Do you disagree with the fact that, do you think I was talking about meta? Do you think I had a chit-chat conversation with him? Do you think that I shouldn't have a chit-chat conversation with him because he's carnist? Like,
yeah, no, I completely understand. It's just that I just saw it as a, how can I put this? There was a big juxtaposition between that and your treatment of Rams, which I found to be maybe a double standard.
So I don't think that is. I definitely don't think it's a double standard.
Okay, but Abby, the point is, you're not going to really know why that is unless I kind of present my.
Sure, no, wait, but wait, yeah. Why do you wait? But when you say it's a double standard, you're saying I have this principle that I'm following in one case and not another case or something.
Yeah, I maybe got the impression that because Shadow Starshine has piece of shit views on animals, I would have expected you to grill him more. Whereas with Rams, Rams does not have piece of shit views on animals, and you kind of grill him.
So that's not a principle so that's not a principle I accept. Like, I don't accept the principle that if someone has shit views on animals, in all contexts, I'm just going to grill them. on their piece of shit views on animals. And if someone, or nor do I accept the principle that if someone doesn't have piece of shit views on animals, I'm going to not grill them.
Cool.
Like,
Yeah, I mean,
so it's not a double standard. I don't accept that view. I don't like.
Okay, yeah, I'm talking about, as I said, there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm talking about, from my perspective, obviously, I would speak to Rams very respectfully, whereas if
I know what you
Starshine
would
was
do.
on mine...
That's fine, but that's not what a double standard is. When you say double standard, like, for example, if I said, all carnists need to be mocked, and all vegans, like, if someone is if someone engages in cars that need to be mocked, and then I'm mocking, I'm not mocking a vegan, but not mocking a carnist. Like, that would be a double standard because I adhere to some principle in one case and not the other. But
okay, yeah, sure, cool.
That's not what's happening. Like, I'm not. That's just not a principle I accept.
Yeah.
And by the way, if Shadow Starshine did what Martins did, I would treat him the same way. Like, if Shadow Starshine just started talking about a view that I brought to light and refused to engage in a conversation with me about it, yeah, I would view that as a pretty shit move, and I would treat him essentially the same way.
Okay, fair enough. Good to hear that you'd be consistent there. Right, are you happy to let me lay out my reasoning to why I think Rams is deserving of an apology?
If we have settled everything about your comment, so if we agree on the following things, number one, I did not have a friendly chit like this. The characterization of the conversation with Shadow Starshine was just off. That wasn't a friendly chit chat. Number two, we weren't talking about meta. Number three, my view is not necessarily that there is anything wrong with talking about meta. It depends on the context. Number four, straw rolling. Like, this is, like, the fact that one is vegan, one is not, is just not really relevant to me or not that relevant to me about the nature of the conversation, the role of the conversationalist. And number five, that there's no double standard that I have. It's just, I would treat Shadow Starshine the same way if he did what Dave Rams did. If we agree on all of that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's fine. I agree. I guess maybe I should rephrase it to, you have a weird standard of respect.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait, weird standard of respect? What is that?
Yeah, well, I think that Rams hadn't done anything in any way that was bad or disrespectful. And I think you and Isaac treated him as if he did.
Okay. So wait, by weird, but then by weird, do you just mean different than your standard, or do you mean
definitely different from my standard and different from the vast majority of people?
Oh, well, that's an empirical question. I don't see. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think a lot of people would, take what Martins did as, at least from my standpoint. I have an opposite intuition. I think a lot of people would take what he did as to be very disrespectful.
Yeah, no, I personally don't know anyone who would outside of that Discord server, to be honest. I think that it's...
Wait, what? Hold on, what?
No, there's no one I know who would think that what Rams...
Okay, well, but that's just among the people you know, so that's not really very persuasive to me. What is your... Okay, well, let me ask you then. Like, what is your... Like, try to... I want you to try to put yourself in my shoes then. Like, why do you think I viewed what Martins did was disrespectful, Rams. Sorry. Yeah, I told you this event is not even in my mind. I don't even remember who this was. Rams. Like, why do you think I took what Rams did was disrespectful and not just disrespectful, but like intellectually gross, and viewed it deserving of pressure? Like, why do you think that is?
Yeah, I have no idea, because to me, this would just be the most trivial thing ever. If Rams did I mean, I wouldn't even treat someone like that, even if they had fucking done a call-out video.
What is your understanding of...
I wouldn't treat an intersectional like that. I wouldn't treat a non-vegan like that. Like, for you and Isaac to treat Rams like that, for me, is just crazy, mate.
What is your understanding of what happened?
Oh, I know. I'll lay out the scenario that what happened.
Uh-huh.
All right, so Avi, look, I think the best way for you to reflect on this...
Wait, answer the question. What is your understanding of what happened? I want to make sure we have the facts, like we agree on what happened, at least.
Well, I'm going to say what happened by using an analogy.
I know. I want you to just say what. I don't want you to do that. I
Okay.
want you to just say what your understanding of what happened.
Okay. Yeah. Rams was in the server talking to Nick.
No,
Nick
before that. Before that.
Rams had made a video just talking about your view.
Mm-hmm.
He then privated the video.
What did he say in that video?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you think he just talked about the view? Like, oh, he has this view?
Yes.
Oh, that's all he did. He said just Avi has this view, and that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
No, that's not what happened.
What happened?
No, he talked negatively about the view.
And then privated the video.
Yeah, whoa. Yeah, I understand he privated the video. I don't care. I understand he privated the video. I'm not disputing that.
So
but
maybe he thought it was a bad idea. I don't know. Maybe he just thought, you know what,
now.
this is maybe not something that we need to.
No. But this is very important now because, like, now I understand. Now, like, we're not on the same page of what even happened. Because
I know what happened next, and to be honest,
no, I don't.
It doesn't matter what Rams did in his fucking video, mate. You don't do that, bro. You don't fucking brigade a server with Isaac. Start calling Rams scum and a coward and a bitch. Start trying to pressure him into a conversation that he doesn't want to have, recording it in front of an audience of people to humiliate him. That's bullshit, dude.
So I view that there are certain contexts where that is completely appropriate. And it depends on what the background context is of what happened before. And apparently you may have the view where there's nothing that could happen prior that would warrant such treatment. And I don't have that value. I think there are certain things that could happen prior that would warrant such treatment. Namely, the thing that happened. I think making a video like that after I bring a view to light and shit talking, making a video shit talk the view, I would want to have a conversation with a person like that, and I expect them to have a conversation about it. And
do you not think you went about it in the wrong way?
At this point, definitely not. At this point, everything that's happened has very much confirmed that that I probably went about it as good as I could have, actually, because I mean, everything that I've seen has just shown the most scummy, intellectually dishonest cowardice.
See, they're scummy cowardice. Yeah. What is this, man? What a way!
That's my view.
Just the most trivial bullshit.
It's my view. I'm giving you my view.
Yeah, and
my view is like there are certain characteristics that I still say this without any personal like for the role of wanting a person for the role of, discourse about philosophical topics. I view that behavior of, if I ever, imagine if I ever did this, if I ever just made a video about someone's view and just talked about it the way I did, and someone's trying to converse with me about that view. I mean, I couldn't imagine, if I ever get to the point where, I just try to avoid the conversation the way he did, please shoot me or something. Holy shit, I would view myself as just, that's just...
Avi, if
I can't imagine me behaving that way,
If I did that to you, I would owe you an apology. If you did what Rams allegedly did, and then I did to you what you and Isaac did to
me.
I
think I would owe you an apology.
Why would you owe him?
All right, so we just have different. We have different. I guess we just have different values then. So, I view, in my view, there, the onus is on the person who made that sort of public statement about the view. If I make a public statement about someone's view and the person wants to discuss it with me, and I refuse to discuss it with them, I view that as an incredibly intellectually shitty thing to do. And I would view myself worthy of being viewed as an incredibly shitty intellectual person. From an intellectual standpoint, it's intellectual cowardice. I would fully expect someone to try and, especially the person who pioneered the view, to aggressively try to discuss that with me if I did some kind of video like that. I mean, I would be the one, on my view, it would be me who's the one that owes that person an apology for being a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, that just baffles me, mate. But as I say, I'm not here to persuade you otherwise. I just wanted to kind of lay out, represent the case and see if you would see it as
By
well.
the way, I still have nothing. I'm still happy to, be friends with. I'm sure, like, I could still see myself being like, I never was friends with him, but I could see myself being friends with him. Like, again, that's just a different role. Like, if as long as like he stays out of I wouldn't have the relationship with him about like anything that would require like him not being an intellectual coward, him not being like you know, someone who would engage in that shitty behavior. Like, for example, like if he would just, be like a friend in my life or something, like, okay, it's a different role. Maybe he could be a good friend of mine. I don't know. I don't have anything like against him personally in that regard. It's just what the role he's playing. If the role he's playing is someone who's involved in discourse on intellectual matters and related to veganism and whatnot, and he's playing the role, if he's going to play the role of someone who's going to, publicize these things, and I view him as someone who is lacking a very important characteristic to do that, namely the willingness to engage with those who disagree with him on those kind of topics that he's talking about.
But let's say, for the sake of argument, that, I don't know, someone who has views I disagree with, like an intersectional vegan, maybe. Let's use, I don't know, Catherine Klein as an example, who I've debated a few times before. Let's say she's on Discord having a conversation with someone about setting up a debate with a non-vegan. And then out of nowhere and completely without her prior consent or knowledge, me and Rams and about 100 others just brigade the server, and I start trying to pressure her into a conversation she doesn't want to have in front of a bunch of people and everything being recorded. And let's say Catherine politely requests to me that she wishes not to have this conversation, that she's aware of the fact people are baying for her blood and wanting to see her get humiliated in front of an audience. And then rather than take her polite refusal seriously, I not only keep pressing her to have the conversation, but just downplay her valid concerns about this by just saying, "Oh, you can."
Yeah. So my view would be the same. It's just, my view is that the response in terms of the immediacy, the one view like response that I would accept to not have that conversation, because I do believe a conversation is owed when someone does this. Just to be clear, like, I believe that there is someone who owes a conversation to someone. Like, if I call out someone else's view, like if someone like and they're coming to me to talk about their view, like, I view that I owe them a conversation. So when I owe someone a conversation, the one way the acceptable form of me not having that conversation is to say, listen, I'm doing something else right now. However, I will give you a conversation. We can schedule that at a later time. And if Ram said,
which is what Rams did, mate. He said,
no, he did not.
Yes, he did. Listen to it back. Didn't. He said he'd agree to a private conversation with you.
No, I don't say I owe them. Wait, my view is that no, I didn't. It doesn't even have to be. That's not my view either. It just have to be. I didn't say what I would accept is that. Oh, I will only accept the conversation in private. You could, if they want it public, I'm happy to owe them a public conversation. I made the public video about them,
and then privated it.
Okay, well then I'll make a public discussion about that.
Why does anyone owe you a public discussion, Abby? Why?
Yes, because why? Because if you make a public, no, I don't. If I would view it that I owe them a public conversation if they wanted it to be a public conversation, because I publicly talked about their view. And I want the public to see where things stand. I don't give a fuck if I privated my video after the damage is done. No.
And let's say, Avi, in this analogy,
wait, just to make my view clear, just to make my view very clear. So my view is that I would owe them a conversation. If they wanted that to be a public conversation, I would owe them that as well. And the acceptable form of response would be, yes, I owe you a conversation about that because I should talk to your view publicly. I'm right now.
You're making it like it's personal about you, Abby.
No, it's not. No, it's
very much no. Or something.
I don't care about whether I shit talk this view. That whether it's again, I don't know what you mean. I don't care if you think it's personal or not.
You're acting like it's a diss track.
Whatever it, I don't care. I don't listen. I know
you didn't make it personal about you.
No, that's another layer of confusion. It's a very annoying intellectual thing for me, but I don't take that as a personal slight against me. I take that as a slight against the view, and I care about that. And so yes, I owe the pioneer of the view a conversation. And if they want that to be a public conversation, I would view it as I owe them that as well. Now, the appropriate response, if I did not want to have the conversation right there, would be to acknowledge, I would acknowledge, yes, I owe you a conversation. We can have that conversation. If you want that to be a public conversation, we can have that as well. Because I did shit talk your view. Not you. I didn't shit talk you, but I did shit talk your view. And so I owe you the public conversation or private conversation. But I can't have it right this second. However, I'm happy to schedule a public conversation or private conversation at a later time. If that was the response, I would have accepted that.
So why not? Why didn't you just go about it in a more respectful manner, like just message randomly?
Oh, I didn't
like,
think. Yeah,
hey,
I did
David,
not.
do you
No, no,
fancy-
yeah, because once that no, I wanted to because my suspicion, and it turned out to be correct, was that the person was not going to engage in a public conversation. The person was not going to do that, and I was correct in that suspicion. And the person, again, it could just be a good radar that I have for like cowardly sleazeball behavior, but it turned out to all be correct. So if that's the case, I want it to be known that this is what's happening. What's happening is there's an individual who's shit talking my view, and
he wasn't. Abby, I need to just stop you here. He wasn't shit talking any view.
Well, yeah, he was.
What did he say? What was so bad about what he said?
So I'm not gonna. I can't it's a privated video now, so I can't reproduce it word for word. But he was saying things about the view that were, of course, negative and stupid to say about the view. Because and I don't even think had a good understanding of the view based on. Again, I don't remember the word for word 4 years ago at this point, but I did watch it, and my impression from watching that video was yes, that would be very well characterized as shit talking the view. And so, given that I had the impression that he should talk my view from watching that video, my approach was to show people that this is what's happening. Someone is shit talking my view and is refusing, not just at a later time, refusing to have the conversation publicly so that everyone can see him get pressed on what he said in the first place about my view.
Now, okay, let's say in my Catherine Klein analogy here, or name any intersectional you want. Let's say they had publicly, quote unquote, shit talked my view.
Yeah.
Do you think it would still be appropriate behavior for, while I'm pressuring Catherine or whoever it is into the conversation, for Rams to be in the live chat going, scum, coward, and then come in and just say, why are we allowing this behavior? Can we put a mute on the retard?
Yeah, if they're
coward, you're gonna run like a little bitch, you fucking coward. Do you think that is appropriate behavior?
If they respond in that way, yes, absolutely. I would want to live in a world where more people treat people who shit talk views they clearly don't understand and then cowardly run away from engaging with it like that. I want that behavior to be shamed. Yes.
You would genuinely find it ethical for Rams to
I would find it unethical I would almost find it unethical to not do that, yeah.
To tell Catherine Klein you're going to run away like a little bitch.
Yes. Yes.
All right, well, there's not much more we can say, I guess, Abby. But look, thanks very much for having this chat. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, and again, I say all this, like, again, like, I don't have. I'm happy to talk to him. Like, I'm happy to. I don't have anything personal against him with all of this. Like, but I do think I do want. Yes, again, I want to live in a world where people do incentivize or disincentivize certain behaviors. Yes, that brutally. Because I view certain behaviors to be that bad. In terms of like the role playing again, for the sake of that role. So I'm always, again, like I think people, I don't think people really understand the way I'm operating. It's just, I do think what David Rams did was intellectually really shitty. I think it was grimy, scummy, everything like that. I think it was deserving of shame, deserving of mockery. And but I don't, other than that, I don't really see anything bad about him. Well, maybe I do and don't know it, but I'm always happy to talk to him. Like I'll talk to almost anyone.
Well, look, Rams does a lot of amazing things for animals, and
I'm sure. Oh yeah, I'm sure he does. Listen.
Yeah, I don't agree with your view that he's done anything scummy and stuff. I just
No.
think this is
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's the
You
thing.
do have weird values, in my opinion, Avi.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry
that's
to say that, mate.
that's the thing right there. See, that's what I think people don't understand. It's like I view, like, when I use these words scummy or shitty, these are things like, I want you, it's with respect to a given role. Like, okay, so, like, in the role of, like, being a good vegan, like, I'm never gonna say he's scummy that way. Like, I'm sure he's great. In the role of, uh, you know, some other thing, I'm not gonna say, it's just in the role of engaging intellectually, he was scummy. Like, with respect to that role, yeah, he was shit.
But
That
he'd
doesn't
never
mean,
agreed
like,
to the conversation, Avi.
yes,
It's a complete violation of.
after making that video, yes. Again, my view from that role is that a conversation is owed. Again, that's my view, and I have that view consistently. Like, that's my view. If I did a video about his view, like that, a view he pioneered, and I did that, and he wanted to have a public conversation with me, I would view that I owed him that.
And just to reiterate one more time before we end this conversation, you honestly don't think that it's bad to just create a dogpiling kind of power imbalance in a server to try and humiliate someone, call them coward, scum, and a piece of shit? You don't even think Isaac owes like Rams an apology?
No, I think if anything, Rams owes Isaac an apology too. I think he owes everyone who listened to that conversation apology, if anything. So again, like, my view is that, just out of nothing, if someone just dogpiles someone, then yeah, I think that's pretty shitty. But
that's what happened, dude.
But no, you're not listening.
Okay. I am listening.
In the context, so just to be clear, I'm not saying just anyone being dogpiled is okay. Someone who engages in a specific sort of behavior can be worthy of being dogpiled, and that is okay, and that is good. And the type of behavior that Rams engaged in, from my standpoint, is worthy of being dogpiled and being humiliated and being viewed as, again, within the role of some intellectual type of server, intellectual debate server, whatever. Within that space, it should be very much disincentivized and mocked and viewed as really shitty. And yeah, that is appropriate. That is good to me. And if people engage in that behavior, they should also be dogpiled.
Yeah, I think, as you said earlier, mate, me and you just have very different values. But look, I'm not here to really persuade you of anything. I'm just trying to lay out the point as to why I think that Rams is owed an apology. If you and Isaac don't agree, you don't. But look, I appreciate.
No, I think Rams owes. Just to be clear, I think it's the other way around. I think Rams owes me an apology, but I think he owes me an apology for shit talking my view and then refusing to have the discussion about it. And just acting like a intellectual piece of shit about it. Yeah, that's the view I have. I feel he owes me an apology.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems our values here are worlds apart, mate. But look, thanks, Avi, for coming on, and I appreciate you wanting to have the conversation. So enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Sure. All right. You too.
Have a good one.